Good morning, everybody. I will start the presentation of the master degree, and I'm sharing my desktop in order to use a proper presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So welcome. We are speaking from Edolo. I'm Anna Giorgi. I'm the responsible of Unimont, and Unimont is an innovative center of the University of Milan, providing teaching, research, and third mission activities strictly connected with mountain sustainable development and valorization. Where is Unimont? This is the other important aspect to be considered. Unimont is placed in Edolo, and Edolo is a small mountain village placed in the Lombardy region in the northern Italy, more or less 145 kilometers northeast of Milan. And it's a village in the upper part of the Valle Camonica. You can see here in the map where we are, a beautiful, really a beautiful mountain village. So we study mountains and we are in the mountains. You can see here in this inspiring animation where we are. And as I already told, we provide education, research, and third mission activities, so activities connected with all the public institutions from the local level to the regional level to the international level, dealing with the mountain issues, mountain sustainable development promotion and valorization. So we are really well connected with the mountain experts that collaborate with us in providing all needed to really have knowledge regarding and acquire knowledge regarding mountains. The master degree course we are presenting today is named, as you know, Valorization and Sustainable Development of Mountain Areas. And the acronym is MOUNTAINSIDE, as you can see and as you know, and is totally held in Edolo, is in English, and the aim is training professionals for the management and sustainable development of mountain areas. The keywords are mainly multidisciplinary, global approach, so an international approach, but starting from the local level. So this is very challenging, but it's something really useful to connect really the local dimension with the international dimension. And this is what we have to learn to do in the third millennium. The topics which are considered in this master degree regards, of course, environment, economic and marketing, entrepreneurship, communication, governance, and social innovation. So the approach is really multidisciplinary. It's a master degree that we can define as specific one and innovative one. This is the study plan. You can see the disciplines which are taught in this master degree. As I already told, the environmental and agroforestry knowledge, which are acquired in the first course here, together with the bioeconomy and communication knowledge. Also information and contents regarding the governance of these territories from the European level to the national level are considered. And of course, part of the course regards economic, geographic, and historical elements, and then landscape planning and renewable energy. The way the activities are held is mainly based on innovative teaching activities. The learning by doing methods is applied, including laboratories, workshops, contamination labs, and so on. And we can benefit of the contribution of colleagues coming from all over Europe, with which we work in the research projects and in the activities of supporting the institution dealing with sustainable development of mountain areas. So Unimont is really an open place where you can stay in the mountains, but at the same time to be connected with all the experts at the European level regarding mountains. The graduate will be able to promote the creation of products and services of economic and social value, starting from the specific resources of the mountains. This is the special approach we adopt. We want to provide all the information to our students to become really experts in doing this kind of thing, converting the specific resources of mountains in products and services for which someone is available to pay. So to create an economic circuit. Regarding the enrollment, these are the main information, but you can find everything regarding this in the manifesto of the master degree, and you can read it. You can find it in the website, in the page, dedicated page regarding the Mountainside master degree. This is the period for the application. The application for admission is available from 22 January till 31 October. In the Unimont campus, you can also participate to a lot of activities, including seminars, which are participated also from the local people, from the locals, but also from the network which is connected with Unimont, including really a great number of institutions from all over Europe. Of course, being a student of the Mountainside master degree, open the doors for a lot of possibilities given to all the students of the University of Milan. For example, you can participate to the Erasmus Mobility program, and so you can go abroad and pass a part of your study period in other university dealing with environmental or other kind of activities you are interested in. You can also, there are other services which are offered. For example, the tutor service. Each student has a specific tutor to support the student during the educational course. There is a contact person for specific learning disabilities, and of course there are book loan services. The community of Unimont students is very active in organizing a lot of moments, entertainment moments, and sometimes it seems to be on holiday while studying. This is what a lot of students think and tell. So finally, the Unimont University Center is a place in a beautiful mountain area in the Alps, in the central Italian Alps, at the base of the Adamello mountain range. You can see here, where you can do a lot of mountain sport activities. For example, there is a ski resort near Hedolo. There are a lot of climbing routes, ice climbing places, and trekking path, very famous at the national and international level. So there are a lot of things to do in open air. This is a video that let you discover the Unimont Center. I can try to open it. I hope it will function. I'm not sure. Yes. I don't know why, but it doesn't work. You can visit it. You can visit by clicking here the Unimont Center. So you can enter in the Unimont University Center, but you have to do it by yourself because, as you can see, it doesn't work on my Mac. Then you can also visit the YouTube channel, the dedicated Unimont YouTube channel, where you can find the testimony of students, professors, teachers, and so on. So you can have much more information also by this kind of tools. You can book a visit to the Unimont Center in Edolo, and you can click here, and I'm sure you will receive this presentation from our dedicated secretary. You can have a support in finding an apartment, a place where to stay during your educational experience. There is a service also for finding a roommate, so a very well organized system, and you can have much more information visiting the website of Unimont. And here you can find all the links, and you can have information also contacting the Secretariat of the study program. So these are all the referments to follow us. So I invite you to subscribe our newsletter, to visit the website, and you can find here the address, and to follow us on social networks. We are very active also by means of social networks. And now I give the floor to my colleagues. I'm not teaching in the master degree, so I give the floor to them that can provide you much more information from their direct experience as teachers of the master degree. So please.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anna, for this very nice introduction about the Unimont facility, the master degree course in sustainable management, in valorization and sustainable development of mountain areas. Let's organize the session like this. Because we have both online participants and also people from here in the room. I don't know whether there are some questions already put in the chat that you can answer to, and maybe we can, so first have a look at those in the chat and then move to the questions from the room. And then we move to, as you correctly said, we move to the voices of the master degree course, first from the lecturers. Now we have, today we have 4 representatives of that from different fields, and then we move to the voices of the students as well from the master degree course. Let me ask to the colleagues, Alessia, Stella. Is there any question from the chat? I cannot see them. Maybe yes. Chat. Okay, there is a question from Street. Can you elaborate on the tuition fees for international students and possible scholarship opportunities? I don't know whether maybe you can directly text to the our admin office, our secretariat office, to ask these more, let's say, more much deeper questions and more specific questions about the fees. Okay, they have already answered you. Any information can be found on that link. Thank you. If there are additional questions from the chat, I will move to the room. Is there any questions from here? No? More? Is it possible to follow the lessons online for students' work? Let me say we have a kind of hybrid opportunity. We are not an online university as such, but of course for students who are working, actually there are possibility to record. Usually we do that. My colleagues can confirm it. So usually lectures are recorded, so you might watch them, the lectures, even in on a different time from your place. The attendance to the course by regulation is not mandatory, but I mean we can let's say afford this kind of options wherever is possible. Okay. No problem. Okay. I don't see any question coming from the room, so I will move to the, I will hand over to our first lecturer, one of my colleagues, who is connected from remote, Camilla Burelli, who is a lecturer in European Union law. Camilla, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to Professor Giorgi as well. Good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, allow me to introduce myself. I am Camilla Burelli, Assistant Professor of European Union Law at the Department of Italian and Supranational Public Law of the University of Milan, where I also earned my PhD in European Union Law. Actually, I am also, my background, I am also a lawyer, and I also served as a legal expert at the Department of European Policies of the Presidency of the Council of Ministers in Rome, where I dealt with the so-called infringement procedures. That is the procedure that the European Commission opens against the states that violate European Union law. Actually, I still collaborate with the presidency today as well, but under other capacities. Anyway, moving to the course. My course is called European Union Law, and it is a course that I had the honor of inheriting from Professor Massimo Condinanzi, who is the current Italian judge at the Court of Justice of the European Union. who certainly gave an initial imprint, or in any case, its first physiognomy to the course. And of course, as the title suggests, the course is clearly a law course. Okay. And on this regard, as a fundamental premise, I am perfectly aware that not all the students have a legal or a political science background. And therefore, when I take lessons, I always try in class to be as clear and as simple as possible, trying to convey to students, above all, the great principles that underlie the functioning of the European Union machine. Okay, understanding that, of course, the auditors are not coming from a legal background, typically. Having said that, why a course on European Union law? And the truth is that it is undeniable that many of the main subjects that regulate the functioning, the valorization, the protection, the sustainable development of mountain areas are governed by European Union law. I'm referring in particular to the cohesion policy, the common agricultural policy, the environmental policy. And therefore, from a certain point of view, it is crucial that students we train who could potentially go to work at an institutional level, I think, for example, to the European Commission or to the Committee of Regions, or students who might have in the future to interface with institutions, or might want to access to, I don't know, European funds, or even become experts in fund programming and so on. They must have familiarity with the European Union laws, with European Union regulations at a general level. Therefore, I firmly believe that this is not possible without having at least a small but solid foundation on the functioning and on the fundamentals of European Union law. In other words, it would not be possible, for example, to understand the meaning, the profound meaning, or the problems of environmental directive, for example, on a soil directive, for example, if we do not know what a directive is, an European directive is. It is not possible to interface, for example, with the European Commission for, I don't know, the management of a fund if we do not know how the European Commission works itself. Having said that, therefore, the course is essentially structured into three parts. We have a first module where we deal with the institutional framework, the institutional structure of the European Union. Then we have a second module that is dedicated to the sources of European Union law and their relationship with the international law and national law. And it covers topics such as the hierarchy of sources, the typical acts of the European Union, such as regulation, directives, decisions, recommendations, opinions, and their typology, the characteristics, their effects, and the relationship between the two legal systems, in particular the European Union system on the one side and the national legal system on the other side. But not least, the third module actually is the main focus of the course, and it is focused on the specific issues related to the mountain areas. Having studied and analyzing the general principles and the general rules that govern the European Union, and in particular the European Union law, the third module focuses on how the mountain areas have a role and how this role is structured within the European Union law. And therefore, after an initial analysis concerning the European Union policies that directly affect the mountain areas, such as the cohesion policy, the common agricultural policy, and the environmental policy, the module focuses on the main measures and the legal acts that have been adopted at the European Union level and at the international level to protect and to promote these territories. This last part aims to imprint a critical spirit also to the students who will realize that actually, in reality, mountain areas are the forgotten ones of the European Union law. They will discover, for example, that there is no legal definition of mountain, and that this lack largely leads to the great difficulty that actually exists in regulating the mountain areas from a legal perspective. But at a more general level, and I am going to conclude, what I want is that at the end of the course, the students have developed their own judgment, and they will be able to critically assess and to critically analyze the content of an European or an international measure in favor of mountain areas. And therefore, essentially, the students will be able to properly apply their technical knowledge to the legal and legislative framework of mountain areas, to take concrete actions and projects for the sustainable development, for the protection, for the valorization of the mountain areas, providing support for the management of the complexity of these territories. In other words, I think that this course tries to combine the technical and substantial knowledge that the students have and will obtain through the LM to a more institutional level, in order also to open more possibilities of job opportunities, work opportunities at an institutional level where actually technicals are needed. But technicals need to know also not just the subject matter, but also how the subject is formulated from a formal point of view. This is it, but actually I'm available for answering questions, doubts, curiosities, and whatever, and I leave the floor to my colleagues.
Okay, thanks a lot, Camilla, for your the presentation of your series of lectures. Is there any question from the chat? Camilla, can you read it? Apart from EU law, do other courses specifically focus on European mountain regions, or do they also include comparative studies of other major mountain regions like the Andes and the Himalayas?
Well, from my perspective and my point of view, my course will essentially focus mainly on the Alps. Mostly because they are a perfect example on how mountain regions regions and mountain areas are regulated at the European Union law. They are the biggest and largest mountain areas, therefore, and the most regulated ones as well. Therefore, when we talk about the Alps, actually, we are also indirectly referring to other mountains areas and territories in the European Union, taking the Alps as an example, but also because, as I was saying, they are the most regulated areas. For example, the only convention that the European Union has signed is the Alpine Convention, even though we all know that there is also another convention concerning the Carpathian. But I won't deal with areas, the mountain areas that are situated and located outside the European continent.
Okay. Are there additional questions from the chat? Otherwise, we swap into the participants in the room. Is there any questions from here? No? Okay. So let's move on with the, let's say, presentation contribution from another colleague, Sabrina Meneghello, who is a lecturer in current issues in mountain tourism management. Sabrina, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you to give me the opportunity to illustrate my teaching online. I can't be there in presence due to academic commitments of this morning, but I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm trying to share my presentation. I don't know if you can see the presentation. Okay, can you?
Now, yes, thanks.
Okay, so before to present my teaching, I would like to introduce myself very briefly. Actually, I'm involved in research at the University UAV of Venice. It's a 2-year research project in the Dolomite area in Veneto region. And I'm focusing on Cibiana in the Cadore area. We are in the Boite Valley. It's a small villages, and these villages receive some financial resources from the National Recovery and Resilience Plan under the Line 2. And so the project that I'm implementing with the public institution has the aim to, of course, counter the population that is very common, and we will talk about this issue also during my classes in these marginalized areas, through cultural and tourism action, the integration of culture and tourism, to hopefully implement sustainable form of tourism. So this is the main focus of my research project, starting back of the beginning of last year. So I have a PhD in historical, geographical, and anthropology studies with a curriculum in geographical studies. But before that, I worked for 20 years as a senior lecturer at CISET, that is the International Center of Studies on Tourism Economy of the Ca' Foscari University of Venice, thanks to my master, the master that I got after my bachelor degree in the master was in economic and management of tourism. And starting from this, I start to work in the tourism studies field, and start to implement a project on tourism at different scale, European, national, regional, and local scale. Actually, I'm teaching also at the Ca' Foscari University of Venice, and also at University of Padua, geography for tourism destination, territorial development, and sustainable tourism. So in all my teaching, the tourism and the relation of tourism with the other economic activities is the main topic. So I'm the lecturer of this elective course. So it's current issues in mountain tourism management. It's an elective course, 2 full days at the end of April, the 29th and the 30th of April, 16 hours for 2 credits, as you can see here. And I'm going to develop 4 modules. So 2 modules that will be, they will be more based on a theoretical part. I will give you the theoretical framework of the current issue in mountain tourism management, and then 2 modules that will be a more practical part. And I'm going to present to you these 4 modules starting from the objective of my teaching. So the objective is to make you understand that tourism is an open system. We will start talking about the different tourism components and relations among the components and the subjects that are in this system, but also the relation of the tourism as a system with all the other component of a broader system, starting from the relation between tourism and the environment, the other economic activities, the society, the policy, the health issues, the technological issues. Also because I want to be able to critically recognize the effect, the impact, how these other issues affect the mountain tourism and vice versa, how tourism impact the territories and the community. So we will talk about the positive and the negative impacts of tourism on these mountain areas. And another aim is to make you understand the basic principles of how tourism can create wellness, can create positive effects for the territories and for the hosting communities. And then in the end, the aim is for you to be able to assess the level of development of the destination, but also of a new form of tourism, and also to assess the ability of this community to be resilient, also when we are talking about the development of tourism. And we will do this, and I will try to reach this goal using different methodology, of course, with the interactive lectures, also in the more, when I'm presenting the more theoretical and conceptual part, I will try to develop interactive lectures, but mainly through the presentations of case studies, and then with the 2 modules based on the working groups. We will work together in groups, and we will select some cases of mountain destination, and we will analyze these cases starting from the very local level. So this is the index. The first day I will start with the explication, with the illustrations from a theoretical point of view of the nexus climate change and tourism, of course, focus on mountain destinations. And then I will also show you a methodology to assess mountain tourism destination through a set of indicators that can help you in analyze tourism data, starting from the statistical data about the demand and the tourism offer, the accommodation offer. And then the second day, we will see in the morning 2 case studies, one from the Trentino and the other one from the Veneto region. And in the afternoon, we will work in group to end with a final oral presentations from the different group, a very brief one, of course, to present, to share the result coming from the application of the methodology that I illustrate to you the first day. So more in details, talking about the relationship between climate change and tourism, we will see the number and the complexity of variables that are involved in the debate, in the international debate, starting from the Davos conference back in 2003, and we about mitigation and adaptation policies, and we will see which are the these policies, and also in some cases the opportunities for mountain destinations deriving from the effect of climate change on this context. And then we will also check the mapping of the tourism climate hotspots, and we will also talk about the climate justice, so all the questions related to the fact that the climate change can affect in particular some destination and can create a marginalization. So the second part is about the methodology. So I will show you a set of indicators to analyze tourism demand and tourism offer, and I will focus on geographical indicators, for example, to assess the pressure, the tourism concentrations regarding the tourism demand, and then the intensity, for example, and density indicators to assess the development of accommodation, for example, the different typology of accommodation. So we will work on different sources of data to work in groups and to describe the level of development, tourist development of the selected destination. Talking about the two case studies, I will talk about two case studies. One is the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in the Trentino region. And we will talk about the issue of tourism development between also the conservation and innovation aims of this area, of this UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, that is the Alpi Ledrensi and the Giudicaria area. And the second case studies will be an area in the Agordino, in the province of Belluno, the Biois Valley. And here is very interesting because we will see the effect of the storm Vaia in tourism dynamics, and then the launch after this dramatic event from the local community of an eco museum. So this is a very interesting example of resilience and the community involvement. And then finally, these working groups with the presentation of the analysis that the students did on a selected case of a destination, of mountain destination, and finally the oral presentation from the different groups that will present with observation about their interpretation of the different level of tourism development, starting from the analysis of the statistical data, but also the analysis of the destination management plan and the promotional materials. So there will be a three-step methodology to assess the level and the type of tourism development of the analyzed case. So it will be the base of the working groups with the final presentation. So I will stop here, and I hope that you can follow also with the problems of the PowerPoint. I'm sorry about that, but I hope that it was clear enough. So the 4 modules and the aim of the teaching and of my classes, the full day classes with me, and I hope to have students in class and to meet students in class.
Yes, thanks a lot, Sabrina. It was clear, even with all the troubles. Not sure whether there is any question from the chat. Okay, from the room? No? Okay, so let's move on. Now it's time for hearing Simon Pierce, another colleague of mine, who is a professor of mountain ecosystems and biodiversity valorization. Simon, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Not in a presenting mode. Oh, now yes. Thanks.
Okay. In fact, perhaps I should explain to everyone, we're used to using Microsoft Teams and not Zoom. When it comes to Teams, we have no problems. With Zoom, it's a bit new to us. Okay. Anyway, I'm Professor Pierce, botany. I'll be talking to you today about mountain ecosystems and biodiversity valorization. I just put the laser pointer. So the aim of this particular teaching unit is to understand biodiversity, so the range of organisms that are found in mountain ecosystems, and how these organisms can be used in a sustainable way, so valorization. It's divided into two units, animal resources and plant resources. I have to say that the examples I'll be showing you today are for the plant resources because I'm the botanist, so I don't have any slides with regard to the animals, but some of the concepts are similar anyway. And in fact, if we take the main themes from the lectures, it's basically about understanding biodiversity, so the range of organisms, understanding the processes, the biological and ecological processes in mountain ecosystems, threats and problems to animals and plants in mountain ecosystems, and then the sustainable use or valorization. And if I can just pick up on something that Professor Borelli said earlier, she said that she doesn't expect you to be lawyers or to have a background in law. And also from my point of view, I don't expect you to be biologists or botanists or to have that kind of background. So mainly the start of the course, the biodiversity basics, is about having a little taste of biology and zoology, botany, and kind of getting used to the subject matter. And in fact, we usually start with some kind of definition or some kind of schematic presentation showing some of the main words that we're using. In fact, I wanted to show you the slides from the course, but of course there's too much information. I can't show you everything. But generally, we try to show the kind of basic terminology and then go on to discuss specific scientific papers or examples. So as I take you through the biodiversity, the ecology, the threats and problems and the valorization, I'll just show you a few slides from each part of my course, so with plant examples. For example, this is an example of a tool that we can use nowadays where you have a name of a plant, you can put it into this tool, and it will search the scientific literature and create what we call a phylogenetic tree, a tree of relationships between different organisms. So this is the kind of tool that we'll be learning about that can help us to understand the range of organisms, the range of plants. So nobody expects you to be a botanist when you walk into the lecture theatre, when you walk into the lessons. And in fact, we'll be talking about the kind of tools that can help us to understand biodiversity. This is important because then we'll be discussing how biodiversity can be used. Arnica montana is just like a perfect example of a mountain plant which has a range of what we call ethnobotanical uses or kind of local small-scale uses. So we'll be learning about plant identification in that kind of context for identifying and using plants. But it's not just about plant and animal species. Biodiversity is also about the range of habitats, the range of different environments. So we'll also be learning about how to study the vegetation, for example. This is just one example of a method for calculating the different types of species that are in a plant community. So we'll be looking at biodiversity at different scales. there will be some science in this as well. It's not all just photographs and a few names. We'll be looking at scientific evidence for how vegetation works and how plants grow in their environment and how animals survive, with the idea then that to use animals or plants in a sustainable way, we have to have that kind of basic knowledge, that evidence, which helps us to understand how they survive. So this might look a bit complicated now, but it's the kind of thing that we'll break apart and discuss and come to an understanding of how plants survive to form vegetation, to form the kind of landscapes that we're used to seeing in the mountain environment. Part of biodiversity, of course, is agricultural biodiversity. So as a botanist, this is particularly interesting for me. And this is just one example that actually comes from research at Unimont. So we'll try and use our own research as well. We do use examples from outside the European Alps. We had a question before about if the lessons will only deal with the European Alps. What we tend to do in our lessons with the biodiversity valorization is to have some examples from the European Alps, some very local examples such as this. But for example, this example here, which is talking about the potato, that ties in with a much wider story about biodiversity in the Andes, because the potato originally comes from the Andes. So we see the kind of international side to this story, but also the local side. So we will be discussing these kind of processes and phenomena in different parts of the world. We have to have an understanding of how plants survive and the problems in mountain environments. So this is just one example of a slide from the lesson on stresses and difficulties growing in the mountain environment. And this is part of an introduction to talking about freezing and cold stress and the kind of adaptations that plants and animals have to survive where it's very cold very often, or very seasonal, harsh environments. We'll also be talking about threats and problems. And a big part of this is pollution, environmental pollution. And this is one slide from a lesson where we start off by considering actually the Chernobyl disaster, which basically threw into the atmosphere radioactive metals, radioactive cesium. And mountains have a big role in intercepting environmental pollution, particularly heavy metals, as the Chernobyl disaster showed us. Mountains are exposed, they get the worst of it. And they're also one of the key points in the hydrological cycle. So the water that brings resources onto agricultural land, into the food chain. So we'll be talking about a wide range of threats and problems to diversity in mountain environments, but this is just one particular example when we're talking about pollution, okay? We'll also be talking about things like climate change and plant and animal responses to climate change. So again, I've put one example of one scientific study in which we look at the distribution of a very rare species in the context of things like the elevation, so the point let's say the elevation of the land surface above sea level, also things like aspect, if the plant is exposed to colder environments, that kind of thing. So we'll be looking at threats and problems which have a global importance, such as global climate change and pollution, but also using some specific examples from different mountain ranges. Part of understanding threats and problems to biodiversity is understanding, here we touch again on the legal side of things, understanding the legal way that we can respond to threats and problems. And here I've taken an example from Europe, but we do have examples from other parts of the world as well. This is considering literally the legal framework which has established national parks and areas of conservation throughout Europe in this particular case. So the kind of tools as well that we have for understanding legally protected areas for biodiversity protection, And also when we work as professionals, when I work as a botanist, for example, in the landscape, I have to be aware of the legal side of it as well. And part of this is a requirement to tell people what you're doing. So to inform, for example, the regional government exactly what you're doing, which plants you're touching, collecting, or working with. And so we have examples such as this, which is an official reporting mechanism for showing how you're working, where the plants are and what kind of material you're collecting. So we won't just be talking about plants and problems, but also the kind of tools that you use as a professional in a mountain environment. I mean, you don't even have to be a botanist or a biologist. This is the kind of thing that's used also by people that manage parks or are involved in some way with the territory. Okay, so these are the kind of things we'll be looking at. When it comes to valorization, so sustainable use, part of this, when it comes to native species, part of this is conservation, because we want to make sure that we can use plants and animals without destroying them in the wild. And a big part of that is protecting the habitat, as we've seen with these legal areas, but also the kind of techniques that allow us to reproduce these organisms and produce them, literally produce them. So we'll also be looking at the kind of methods that we use to propagate plants or to raise animals. And so some of the examples that I'll show you are from very specific studies in which I'm involved with rare species. But the kind of techniques that we use are simply the techniques that we use to produce plants. So it's true that we look at the conservation of habitats, but we also look at the conservation of species, but also the specific techniques for producing and propagating these particular species. I don't expect people to come out of this knowing how to do this work. The point is to get a basic understanding of it, so that when you're talking about it, when you're involved in a project and somebody says, we produce this plant using in vitro propagation, you know what people are talking about, okay? So the lessons are based on these kind of concepts, discussing these kind of themes and topics, but there is an element of fieldwork involved as well. Sorry, I'd forgotten that I'd put in this video. This is about collecting seeds of native species for large-scale production of plants. We can produce plants on a small scale using the laboratory methods, but we can also produce plants on a large scale. And to do that, we have to have a source of material, of seeds. And this is a technique for basically brushing the seeds up from the vegetation and producing the plants on a large scale. Okay, sorry, small interruption there. So I was saying that we have lectures, but we also have field trips. And the aim of these field trips is to get some kind of personal experience, like actually being there, seeing the plants, being involved in conservation studies, in studies for propagating plants. So in my particular part of the course, I do these 2 field trips, which we can see here. If you want to go for the full videos with the music and everything, go on YouTube and put in those keywords, Edelo and Pierce, and they're the first 2 videos that jump out. But basically, these videos are literally taken during the field trips for my part of the course, and these are students from Edelo that are, when I say Edelo, of course, I'm using the name of the town. I should say Unimont, okay? These are Unimont students from this particular master's course, okay? So these are literally the field trips that we'll be doing. And so on the left, you can see that we're just getting some basic experience of botany in an alpine environment, and also looking at the vegetation. So classifying the habitats and trying to understand the kind of groups of plants that live together. On the right, you can see students that are involved in a favorite project of mine, which is to help the populations of the lady slipper orchid, which we can see here, this yellow orchid. And basically, I asked the students to help me to pollinate the plants, to help produce seeds. And then later on in the year, I come back and take the seeds and sow them in particular places where we hope that the plants are going to grow so that the populations become stronger in the future. So not only are we learning, we're doing something to help the populations of the plants and to make sure that any use of these plants is then going to have a minimal impact. So these are the kind of activities that we will be doing. I'm sorry I can't show you all of the lessons from all of the course, but that's like 40 hours of lessons. It's quite a substantial amount of lessons. And here I can only really give you a taste of the field trips. But of course, if you come to Edolo, you come to Unimont and you do the master's course, we'll be there in the field and we can look at this together. Okay, so I encourage you to think seriously about doing this master's course. So